this video, we explore the effect of poll worker shortages on voting operations throughout Election Day. During Election Day, poll workers are responsible for numerous tasks, from processing voters at check-in, handling provisional voters and paperwork, and assisting voters throughout the voting process. A shortage of poll workers can lead to negative experiences for voters and an increased workload for poll workers on Election Day. Throughout this video, we will consider the impact of poll worker shortages on voter wait times and the availability of voter assistance. Regardless of voting equipment type, the process of checking in voters requires at least one poll worker. If a voting location is short poll workers, fewer check-ins than needed may be operated due to a lack of staffing for the check-in process. To explore how such a shortage impacts voter wait times, we simulate 3 voting processes, each using different types of voting equipment. One voting location has a paper-based voting process, which uses paper poll books, paper ballots hand-marked at privacy booths, and ballot submission to a ballot box. A technology-based voting process is simulated that uses electronic poll books, electronic ballot marking devices, and electronic ballot scanners. And a third hybrid process is simulated using electronic poll books, paper ballots hand-marked at privacy booths, and electronic ballot scanners. Within each of the simulated voting processes, we assume that 1,500 voters will turn out to vote following the arrival pattern shown on screen. This arrival pattern has a large proportion of voters arriving at the voting location in the morning, fewer voters arriving midday, and an increase in arrivals in the afternoon. A visual representation of the paper-based voting process is shown on screen. With all poll workers available, the voting location has 3 paper poll books, 13 privacy booths, and 1 ballot box, with voters waiting 20 minutes on average throughout the voting process. The plot on screen presents the average wait times per hour throughout a typical 13-hour election day, with longer waits experienced between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. At its busiest, the paper-based voting location experiences an average wait time of 40 minutes at 10 a.m. We now compare average voter wait times in the paper-based voting location when all check-ins are in operation to the voting location operating with 1 fewer check-in staff. The plot on screen presents the average hourly wait times for the paper-based voting location when all poll workers are present and when a poll worker shortage occurs. With only 2 poll workers checking in voters, shown by the solid line, the average voter wait time on Election Day is 2 hours and 26 minutes, 2 hours and 6 minutes longer than when 3 paper poll books are in use. Wait times increase continuously from the opening of the voting location to beyond the close of the voting location. This indicates that voters who arrive prior to the voting location closing wait hours beyond 8 p.m. to vote. Voters who cast their ballots at 2 a.m. experienced a 6-hour wait time. With 2 poll workers checking in voters, the voting location is unable to keep up with the voter demand throughout Election Day, which is indicated by the continued increase in voter wait times per hour. Given the significant increase in voter wait times caused by a poll worker shortage, an attempt to gain additional staff in response may be made. For example, if a poll worker shows up late, a poll worker is relocated from a less busy voting location, or auxiliary staff is assigned to assist at the voting location, it is of interest to determine if the voting location can catch up to voter demand and reduce voter wait times. The plot on screen graphs the average hourly wait time throughout Election Day when an additional poll worker arrives at the voting location 2 hours after voting begins at 9 a.m., shown by the dashed line, and 10 hours after voting begins at 5 p.m., shown by the solid line. With an additional poll worker arriving at 9 a.m., the average voter wait time is 40 minutes, which is 1 hour and 46 minutes shorter than when only 2 poll workers are checking in voters throughout Election Day. The longest average hourly wait time is observed at 11 a.m., 2 hours after the additional poll worker arrives, reaching 80 minutes. Throughout the remainder of Election Day, hourly wait times remain under 1 hour. Despite the increase in voter wait times due to the poll worker shortage between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m., the voting location begins to catch up with the voter demand. However, if an additional poll worker arrives at 5 p.m., the average voter wait time throughout Election Day is 2 hours and 4 minutes. This offers a 22-minute reduction in wait time compared to when only 2 poll workers are checking in voters. But average hourly wait times demonstrate that voter lines developing throughout Election Day cannot be caught up with despite the addition of a poll worker and paper poll book at 5 p.m. Voters who cast their ballot at 11 p.m. experience the longest average hourly wait time of 3 hours and 49 minutes. While voters still experience long wait times with an additional poll worker arriving at 5 p.m., the voting location is able to process all voters by 11 p.m., 3 hours sooner than when 2 poll workers are checking in voters throughout the Election Day. Exploring the technology-based process, a visual representation of a voting location is shown on screen, with voters checking in at electronic poll books, marking ballots on an electronic ballot marking device, and submitting ballots to an electronic ballot scanner. When all poll workers are available, this voting location operates 3 electronic poll books, 12 electronic ballot marking devices, and 1 electronic ballot scanner, and voters wait 27 minutes on average throughout the voting process. The plot on screen presents the average voter wait times per hour throughout a 13-hour Election Day. Voters experience longer wait times in the morning, between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., before decreasing from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Wait times then steadily increase from 3 p.m., reaching a peak at 7 p.m. prior to the voting location closing at 8 p.m. The longest average hourly wait time reaches 42 minutes at 7 p.m. With a poll worker shortage, we assume that only 2 poll workers operate electronic poll books in the technology-based voting location. The plot on screen presents the average hourly wait times for the technology-based voting location when 2 poll workers are available to check in voters, shown by the solid line, and when 3 poll workers are available to check in voters, represented by the dashed line. This plot indicates that voter wait times increase throughout the morning to a higher degree when 1 fewer poll worker is checking in voters. With this reduction in check-in staff, the average voter wait time throughout the Election Day is 56 minutes, 29 minutes longer than when 3 poll workers operate electronic poll books, reaching 1 hour and 18 minutes at 11 a.m. Wait times between 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. decrease before increasing again to the longest hourly wait time of 1 hour and 31 minutes at 9 p.m., 1 hour after the close of the voting location. This result suggests that the voting location struggles to keep up with the voter demand throughout Election Day with only 2 check-in staff. To explore the effect of increased poll workers after the voting location opening, we assess voter wait times when check-in staff increases from 2 to 3 at 9 a.m. or 5 p.m. This represents a poll worker arriving late or poll workers requesting additional staff in response to long voter lines. The plot on screen presents the average hourly voter wait times when an additional poll worker arrives at 9 a.m., shown by the dashed line, and 5 p.m., shown by the solid line. With an additional poll worker checking in voters at 9 a.m., voters wait an average 36 minutes throughout the Election Day. Compared to the voting location operating with only 2 poll workers checking in voters, an additional poll worker arriving at 9 a.m. reduces the average voter wait time by 20 minutes. The average hourly wait time reaches a peak of 56 minutes at 10 a.m., then decreases from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and increases from 4 p.m. to the close of the voting location at 8 p.m. With an additional poll worker arriving at 5 p.m., The average voter wait time throughout the election day is 56 minutes, offering no reduction in wait time compared to the voting location operating with only 2 poll workers operating electronic poll books throughout the entirety of election day. In the hybrid voting process, using paper-based and technology-based voting equipment, voters check in at electronic poll books, hand-marked paper ballots at privacy booths, and submit ballots to electronic ballot scanners. A visual representation of this process is currently shown on screen, with all poll workers present within the voting location, 3 electronic poll books, 9 privacy booths, and 1 ballot scanner are operated to process voters. With this resource allocation, voters wait 18 minutes on average throughout the 13-hour election day. The plot on screen presents an average voter wait times per hour throughout election day, with the longest average wait time of 31 minutes at 10 a.m. Wait times remain under 30 minutes throughout the rest of the election day. When fewer poll workers are available to operate electronic poll books, such as 2 poll workers checking in voters rather than 3, voter wait times increase significantly. The plot on screen presents the average hourly wait times, comparing the hybrid voting location with 2 and 3 check-in staff. With a poll worker shortage, the average voter wait time on election day is 47 minutes, 29 minutes longer than when 3 check-ins are available. Voter wait times increase from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., reaching 1 hour and 9 minutes before decreasing around midday. Average hourly wait times then increase starting at 4 p.m. to the close of the voting location at 8 p.m., with voters who cast their ballot at 9 p.m. having waited 1 hour and 22 minutes on average. This pattern of average hourly wait times indicate that, with only 2 check-in staff, the voting location is unable to meet voter demand in the morning, begins to catch up with long lines around midday when fewer voters are arriving to vote, and then is unable to keep up with the voter arrivals from 4 p.m. to the close of the voting location. We now consider an increase in the number of poll workers with the voting location is in operation, such as a poll worker arriving late or additional poll workers assigned to assist in reducing long voter lines. The plot on screen presents the average hourly wait times throughout election day for the hybrid voting process, when a poll worker arrives to work an electronic poll book at 9 a.m., shown by the dashed line, and at 5 p.m., shown by the solid line. If a poll worker arrives at 9 a.m., increasing the number of check-in staff from 2 to 3, the average voter wait time throughout election day is 25 minutes, 22 minutes shorter than an all-day shortage. Average hourly wait times exceed 30 minutes between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m., peaking at around 10 a.m., but remain under 30 minutes for the remainder of the day. With an additional poll worker arriving at 5 p.m., the average wait time throughout the day is 44 minutes, only 3 minutes shorter than an all-day shortage. This demonstrates that the voting location struggles to meet voter demand in the morning and is less affected by additional check-in staff in the afternoon. This is confirmed by the average hourly wait times, which exhibit wait times over an hour from 11 a.m. to noon, a decrease in wait times from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., and wait times reaching just under an hour at 7 p.m. Regardless of the type of voting equipment used, voting locations that experience a poll worker shortage may experience long voter wait times. Wait times are directly sensitive to the quantity of poll workers and the voting equipment available within a voting location. In the examples presented, 3 poll workers checking in voters are required to manage wait times with a turnout of 1,500 voters. When only 2 poll workers check in voters, wait times increase significantly overall and within each hour of election day. If a voting location has 4 check-in stations and 1 cannot be operated, for example, in the case of a poll worker shortage, then voter wait times will be less affected since the 3 check-in stations are still operational. With that said, over-allocating voting equipment and poll workers to voting locations may not be a feasible solution due to resource constraints. Instead, A small group of backup or flex poll workers that can travel to voting locations in need may offer a large benefit and require few additional poll workers. With an additional poll worker arriving to assist a voting location after a short delay, the severity of wait times may be reduced. With respect to voting operations beyond operating check-in stations, a shortage of poll workers may decrease the availability of support for voters. In cases where specific language needs are required or a large proportion of the voter population requires poll worker assistance when marking and submitting their ballot, a poll worker shortage may directly affect a voter's ability to participate in the election process. The findings presented in this video highlight that preparing for and understanding the potential impact of poll worker shortages on voter wait times is critical in election planning. Tools and resources available online through the Election Assistance Commission's website, among others, provide methods of estimating resource requirements to meet voter demand and may be used to identify voting locations that may experience delays in an election. These issues may also be reduced through cross-training of poll workers, who may assume various roles as needed, and to provide educational and supporting materials for use by poll workers and voters to meet the needs of the voter population.